Today we're going to look at a grammar point, relative clauses, which are really useful for your writing to make it more complex and to put more information into a sentence. So, what is a relative clause? Let's take a look. Okay, here we have two simple sentences. I saw Joe, he works in the city. Using a relative clause, we can put this information into this sentence. I saw Joe, who works in the city. When we use relative clauses, we can use relative pronouns like who, where, which to describe, define, give extra information about someone or something. Another example, I've got an old car, it breaks down all the time. I've got an old car which breaks down all the time. So we've removed the it and we've used this pronoun which to put this information into this sentence. Now, I wanted to look at a couple of useful points, common mistakes that people make with relative clauses. The first one is looking at where you use the clause and what you are describing. Let's have a look at some examples. I lived in London, which is a great place for sightseeing. Okay, what is this which describing? A great place for sightseeing. It's talking about London. London is a great place for sightseeing. How about this example? I lived in London, which was an excellent experience. In this case, what is the which describing? Is it London? Well, maybe, but because we're talking about an experience now, it seems like we are describing this I lived in London. So this clause is describing all of this part, not just the city of London. Both of these examples are correct, both of them are fine. But the main thing to notice is that the clause comes immediately after the thing that it's describing. So whether it's London or I lived in London, the clause comes immediately after that thing. How about this example? I lived in London back in 2010, which was a beautiful city. Now what is this which describing? A beautiful city? We must be describing London. But this clause comes after 2010. Not London. So it seems like we should be describing 2010. Because this clause is a little bit far away from the thing it's describing, the sentence doesn't feel very natural. How can we fix this sentence? Well, we can do it easily by just moving the clause so that it's immediately after the thing it describes. I lived in London, which was a beautiful city, back in 2010. So we can put a clause into the middle of the sentence, and now it's after London, which is perfect. This is okay, but in some cases, we might want to think about the order of information. Have a look at this example. I lived in London, which was a beautiful city full of culture and history and many new places to explore, in 2010. This clause is so long, a beautiful city full of culture and history and many new places to explore. By the time we get to the end of the sentence, we've almost forgotten what we're talking about. You're kind of interrupting the main point of the sentence, which is I lived in London in 2010. If this clause is too long, the sentence is a little bit awkward. So again, we can move information to make it better. In 2010, I lived in London, which was a beautiful city full of culture and history and many new places to explore. By moving this here, we finish the sentence with the clause and put all this long information at the end. It's easier to follow.